The diner was nearly empty when the truck driver walked in, tired and worn. He reached for his wallet, but before he could pull out a single dollar, the waitress stopped him with a smile. "This one's on me," she said. She had no idea that 5 simple words would change her life forever. The clock on the old diner wall ticked slowly, each second stretching longer than the last. Emma Harper wiped her hands on her faded apron, her feet aching from another double shift. The place had been quiet all night, just a few regulars, a couple of late-night travelers, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then, just past midnight, the bell above the door jingled, and a man walked in. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and looked like he had the weight of the world on his back. His flannel shirt was stained with grease, his jeans were worn, and his heavy boots carried the dust of 100 miles. A trucker, no doubt. Emma watched as he hesitated near the entrance, scanning the menu above the counter. His eyes lingered on the prices just a second too long. She recognized that look. She had worn it herself more times than she could count. He finally made his way to the counter and sat down. Emma grabbed a menu, but before she could hand it to him, he waved it away. "Just coffee," he said, his voice rough with exhaustion. "Black." Emma frowned. The man looked like he hadn't had a proper meal in days. She glanced at the nearly empty tip jar beside the register, then at the leftover slice of pie she had been planning to take home. With a small sigh, she made a decision. A few minutes later, she placed a steaming plate in front of him. Scrambled eggs, toast, and a side of hash browns. The kind of meal that filled you up, warmed your bones. The trucker looked up, confused. "I didn't order this." Emma just smiled. "It's on the house." The man stiffened. "I don't take charity." She shrugged. "Good thing it's not charity. It's just kindness. Eat." For a moment, he didn't move. Then slowly, he picked up the fork. He took a bite, and then another. Emma turned away, giving him space, pretending not to notice the way his hands trembled slightly as he ate. When he finished, he set the fork down carefully and looked up at her. His eyes, a deep stormy blue, held something unreadable. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma." He nodded, as if committing it to memory. Then he reached into his pocket, pulling out a few crumpled bills. Emma shook her head. "I told you it's free." The man hesitated. "You sure?" She smiled. "Absolutely." For the first time that night, the man smiled back. It was small, barely there, but it softened something in his tired face. He stood up, adjusting his jacket. "Thank you, Emma." And then, without another word, he walked out into the night. Emma never expected to see him again. She had no idea that in just a few days, her entire world would turn upside down because of that one simple act of kindness. 3 days passed, and Emma barely thought about the trucker again. Life at the diner went on like always, long shifts, small tips, and dreams too big for a town too small. She had learned to stop hoping for something better. Hope didn't pay rent. But everything changed on the 4th day. She had just finished serving a table of truckers when the bell above the door jingled again. At first, she didn't pay much attention until she looked up and saw him. The same man from that late-night shift. Only this time he didn't look like a worn-out trucker passing through. His flannel and jeans were gone, replaced by a crisp button-down and dark jeans that fit like they had been made for him. He was clean-shaven now, his strong jawline more defined, and his tired, wary eyes from that night were clear and sharp. Emma blinked. "You again?" He smiled, stepping toward the counter. "Me again." She crossed her arms. "You're not here for another free meal, are you?" He chuckled. "Number, I'm here to return the favor." Emma frowned. "What are you talking about?" The man exhaled, glancing around before meeting her eyes. "That night, when you gave me that meal, you had no idea who I was." "Should I?" she asked, confused. "Probably not," he admitted. "I'm Luke Grayson." She stared at him, waiting for something to click. When it didn't, he smiled. Owner of Grayson Logistics, one of the biggest trucking companies in the country. Her breath hitched slightly. She had heard that name before. Everyone in the trucking business had. Luke Grayson wasn't just some trucker, he was the trucker. The self-made billionaire who had started as a driver and built an empire. Emma blinked. Wait, you're saying you… Luke nodded. Yeah. I still take my own rigs out on the road sometimes. Reminds me where I came from. He leaned against the counter, watching her reaction. That night, I was stuck in this town after a deal went south. I hadn't eaten in almost a day. Then you came along. Emma shook her head, still trying to process everything. I didn't do anything special. It was just a plate of food. To you, maybe, Luke said. But to me, it was a reminder that there are still good people in the world. That even when you've hit rock bottom, kindness exists. His voice softened. And I don't forget kindness, Emma. She swallowed. So, what now? Luke pulled something out of his pocket and slid it across the counter. A business card. Emma picked it up, eyes scanning the bold letters. Grayson Logistics, corporate office. I don't know your story, Luke said, but I know you don't belong here forever. So, if you ever want something more, a fresh start, a chance to build a different life, come find me. Emma looked at the card, her fingers tightening around it. Luke smirked. No pressure, just think about it. Then, before she could say another word, he turned and walked out of the diner, leaving Emma staring after him, holding the opportunity of a lifetime in her hands. Emma turned the business card over in her fingers, her heart pounding. This kind of thing didn't happen to people like her. People who worked double shifts for scraps. People who dreamed about leaving but never actually did. For the rest of the night, her mind raced. Was this real? Could she trust it? Could she trust him? By the time she got home to her tiny one-bedroom apartment, she was exhausted, but sleep wouldn't come. Luke's words played in her head over and over again. If you ever want something more, come find me. She wanted something more. She always had, but wanting and actually doing were two very different things. For 3 days, the card sat untouched on her nightstand. Every morning she told herself it was just a fluke, some rich guy feeling generous, a thank you gesture, nothing more. But on the 4th day, reality hit hard. Her landlord came knocking, rent was due. Emma barely had enough to cover it. She had worked 10 days straight, and still she was one late shift away from choosing between food and bills. This wasn't living, it was surviving. She picked up the card, and she made the call. Luke answered on the 2nd ring. Took you long enough, he said, amusement in his voice. Emma hesitated. Is the offer still real? Meet me tomorrow, he said without missing a beat. Grayson Logistics headquarters. Noon. She exhaled. Okay. The next day, Emma stood in front of the massive glass building, feeling like she had made a mistake. This wasn't her world. The people walking in wore tailored suits, not faded aprons. They carried leather briefcases, not trays of coffee and eggs. But she had come this far. And if she turned back now, she knew she'd regret it for the rest of her life. Steeling herself, she walked through the doors. A receptionist greeted her, and within minutes she was led into a sleek modern office overlooking the city skyline. Luke was already there, leaning casually against his desk. Emma, he said, a grin tugging at his lips. Glad you came. She swallowed hard. I don't know why I'm here. He tilted his head. You do. Emma let out a breath. What exactly are you offering? Luke stepped closer. A job. A real one. Something that actually gives you a future. Emma frowned. I don't have a degree. I don't know anything about running a business. You don't need a degree to work hard, Luke said simply. And I've seen your kind of work ethic. I need people like that. People who don't quit. Emma crossed her arms. And why do you care so much? Luke's expression softened. Because I used to be you. He shrugged. Somebody gave me a chance once. I figure it's my turn to do the same. Emma looked around the office, at the view stretching beyond the window. This wasn't a dream, this was real. And the only thing standing between her and a new life was her own fear. She met his gaze. Okay, she said, her voice steady. I'm in. Luke grinned. Good, let's get started. Emma had no idea then that this single decision, this leap of faith, would change her life in ways she could never imagine. The days that followed were a blur. One moment, Emma was balancing trays and wiping down counters at the diner, and the next, she was stepping into a completely different world. A world of high-rise offices, corporate meetings, and million-dollar contracts. Luke didn't throw her into the deep end right away. He started small, letting her shadow his team, learn the ropes. At first it was overwhelming. The endless numbers, the logistics jargon, the constant movement. But Emma wasn't afraid of hard work. She arrived early, stayed late, asked questions, learned fast. Luke noticed. You're catching on quicker than I expected, he said one evening as they reviewed shipment schedules in his office. Emma smirked. Turns out running a trucking company and running a diner shift aren't that different. Both are about managing chaos. Luke chuckled. Fair point. As weeks turned into months, Emma started taking on more responsibilities. What started as a simple office job turned into something bigger. She wasn't just another employee. She was making real decisions, proving herself. But with success came whispers. Some people in the company didn't like how quickly she had risen, how close she was to Luke. Rumors spread. Some said she was just a charity case. Others said she was something more. Emma heard them all. She ignored them. But one night, she overheard something that made her stomach turn. Two senior executives stood by the elevator, talking in hushed tones. She's nothing special, one scoffed. Just another nobody he's trying to fix. Yeah, but let's be real, the other one sneered. She's only here because she's got his attention. Once he gets bored, she's gone. Emma clenched her fists. She had worked her ass off. And still, to them, she was just a lucky waitress who got a golden ticket. That night, she stayed late in the office, staring at the city skyline. Doubt crept in. Was she fooling herself? Was this all just some game to Luke? As if on cue, his voice broke the silence. Something on your mind? She turned to see him leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. He wasn't smiling this time. Emma hesitated. Then, before she could stop herself, she asked, "Why me, Luke?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You could have given this opportunity to anyone. Someone with experience. Someone who actually belonged here. But you picked me. Why?" Luke held her gaze, something unreadable in his eyes. Then he stepped forward. "Because I see something in you," he said simply. "The same thing I saw in myself when I was starting out. Hunger, drive, the refusal to stay stuck in a life that doesn't fit you." Emma swallowed. "And if I fail?" His lips twitched. "Then you fail. But knowing you, you won't." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Luke leaned against the desk beside her. "Let them talk, Emma. Let them doubt you, because one day they'll be working for you." Something shifted in her that night. She wasn't a charity case. She wasn't a nobody. She was Emma Harper, and she was just getting started.